Hi guys. The ECJ's Advocate General has advised the European Court of Justice that, in his opinion, Article 50 can be unilaterally revoked by the United Kingdom without having to seek agreement from any of the other member states or from the Commission. This is potentially huge. So if the ECJ takes this advice and rules that way, and it probably will, because in most instances it does follow the advice of the Advocate General, then the claim that the government made that Brexit was inevitable turns to ashes. It's completely untrue. There is nothing inevitable about it. So what does this mean? Well, it means we could keep our rebate. We don't have to join Schengen. We wouldn't need to join, or if we want to, we could veto an EU army. We could remain in Galileo. We could keep all our opt-outs and basically have the very best deal that any of the 27 members of the European Union have. Our just-in-time supply chain would flow freely. Our imports and exports to the EU would be tariff-free. We would enjoy all the enormous trade deals the EU has with huge swathes of the world, deals that keep being added to Japan, Canada in just the last couple of years. We would be back at the very top table, fighting our corner against the globalization's giants, i.e. China, the United States. We could reaffirm our alliance within the EU with Scandinavian countries, Poland, etc., that has allowed us to push the EU in a direction that we wanted. We could continue to share and pool our talents in science, engineering, creative industries, tech, with the other countries of the EU and punch way above our weight, because together we are much bigger than the sum of our parts. We could live, work, retire in Paris, in Berlin, in Barcelona, in Vienna. We could remove the terrible stress our EU friends have been feeling, never knowing if they'll be kicked out of the country. And we can ease the minds of the British nationals that are fearing the same. The British nationals that are in the EU that are fearing the same. We can actually implement the controls on immigration that many people want, but successive governments have simply failed to do, preferring instead to allow their own domestic policy failure to be blamed on the EU. These are controls that would mean we could repatriate EU nationals after 3 months if they don't have a job or the means to support themselves. We could reintroduce comprehensive exit checks at our borders that were removed in the 90s. These were removed not because the EU said we had to remove them, they were removed because we decided to for some reason. All of these things can be done to assuage the concerns, rightly or wrongly, of many people who voted Brexit. Why weren't they done before? Because successive governments like the ability to deflect their own policy failures onto the EU, which is also why many people aren't even aware that these controls could have been implemented since being a member of the EU. NHS costs from EU nationals could be charged back to their home countries again, something we never implemented but always could have done, and we could have peace of mind knowing we are covered for healthcare in EU countries when we travel abroad via EHIC. We have the ability to come out of this whole saga stronger, wiser, and a beacon to other parts of the world. The first in very recent modern times to escape the lies of demagoguery and populism instigated by millionaires and billionaires who have bankrolled this exercise in disaster capitalism and show other countries it can be done. We could be a beacon to these other countries. This country has never in our history stood alone. We have always been in alliances, sharing sovereignty, commitments, working with others. Even in the darkest days at the start of the Second World War, when people like Boris Johnson claim we stood alone against tyranny, we didn't. We had enormous international agreements that kept us fed and armed. In fact, Britain and France almost became one country at the behest of Churchill. That is true. Check it if you don't believe me. The point is, it isn't unusual to be part of supranational alliances. It is exactly how we have functioned since the nation state was conceived, and even before that. So I really hope the ECJ does follow their Advocate General's advice and rules that Article 50 can be unilaterally revoked. I believe then it will be almost impossible not to have a ratification referendum with the option to remain. And I hope we vote to remain, and enable future generations to enjoy all the benefits being part of the EU has afforded us. So one last thing, if you believe like I do that we must have a people's vote, then please, please, please write to your MP, email them, stating that you want a people's vote, stating that you want it to have the option to remain in there. And always remember to include your postal address. They might not read that if your postal address isn't there. So this is potentially huge news. It's potentially wonderful news. It gives us the opportunity to at least gives us the option to undo the damage that has been done thus far. And yeah, it's a positive day. Cheers, guys.